And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Sonic Advance on the Nintendo Game Boy Advance. This is the first Sonic game on a Nintendo system, and this, ladies and gentlemen, is what I consider to be the true version of Sonic the Hedgehog 4. Now, I have stated in the past many times that I actually enjoy Sonic 4, but this game does Sonic 4 better than Sonic 4, I'm just going to say that much. And we're going to begin the game right off in Neo Green Hill Zone, and as you can clearly see, this is a classic 2D styled Sonic the Hedgehog game, much akin to the Mega Drive games, much similar to Sonic Pocket Adventure. In fact, some of the development team behind this game actually worked on Sonic Pocket Adventure, which I think I brought up during that LP as well. And basically, yeah, it's another traditional Sonic the Hedgehog game. Although, it's not entirely the same. All the characters have their own unique new abilities that they can utilize. For example, Sonic has his normal insta-shield attack from Sonic 3 returning, and he has his typical spin dash powers. But we can now actually utilize the somersault maneuver that we saw back in Sonic Adventure 2 by pushing the B button, which is It's not the most useful thing in the world, but hey, you can use it as a normal means to attack enemies and whatnot. I tell you that much. And all the other characters have a similar move as well they can also utilize, where they can quite easily push the attack button and do an attack. You know, ladies and gentlemen, which I do appreciate. But anyway, in this game in particular, in order to get hold of the Chaos Emeralds, things are a little bit more different this time around from what we're used to. Instead of actually going to the end of the goal ring and collecting a giant ring, sending us to a warp zone, this is kind of like a mismatch between Sonic the Hedgehog 1 and not Sonic 1. It's kind of like Sonic 3's special stage mixed with Sonic 2's in a way. Instead of going to the end of the stage, instead of finding giant special rings, we need to find one giant special spring that is located within each of these acts. Not every single act in this... Actually, yeah, not every act in this game has a special ring, but, you know, you go to these special rings and you get sent to a Chaos Emerald stage, where you need to do the usual, collect as many rings as possible, avoid as many bombs as possible, and get through just fine, I tell you that much. But yeah, back in the day, this game was so mind-boggling for a lot of people, just because this was a Sonic game on a Nintendo system. Now, that doesn't sound like a big deal nowadays, because Sonic these days is known as like one of the big multi-platform mascots that everyone likes to throw under the bus for having bad games, right? But back in the day, this was mind-boggling for people, because Sonic the Hedgehog was originally a first-party title for SEGA, for SEGA games, for SEGA consoles. And, of course, it's just so weird because Nintendo's a direct competitor to Sega back in the day, and you know, it took some people, me included, a little while to get used to the idea of Sonic the Hedgehog being on a non-Sega platform. But eventually I got around to it and whatnot, and I eventually got over the idea of it. But anyway, that was the first special zone. We just get the first Chaos Emerald. It's easy peasy lemon squeezy. Now the special zones are basically... they're a bit of a pain in the ass, but I'll go into why more so a bit later down the line in the LP, you know, ladies and gentlemen. But, I digress. Anyway, moving onwards, now it's time to end off the first zone and start off Act 2. Now, with this game, ladies and gentlemen, I will be swapping out every single character between each act of each zone, because there is a lot of levels, but there are only 7 zones, so I need to do my best to try and show off as much as I can, you know, ladies and gentlemen. I want to give each character equal screen time. But anyway, this is Miles Tails' power. Tails still has his flying powers from Sonic 3, as you can easily tell, but here you just keep mashing the jump button, and you will fly on up, allowing you to get hidden collectibles like that. And his tail whip ability from Sonic Adventure 1 has also returned in the... And actually, his tail whip ability is actually quite damn useful, especially against boss fights, because you can whip enemies from a little bit further away. You have like a little bit of a shockwave maneuver, you know, ladies and gentlemen. Now, this does look like a traditional Sonic game, but a lot of people will probably wonder, why do I consider this Sonic game, in particular, to be the true Sonic 4? Well, the answer is quite simple. This game takes everything that worked in Sonic 1, Sonic 2, Sonic 3, and they add to it. They add more mechanics onto the main backbone of the game. They add new gimmicks and whatnot on top of what was already previously introduced. Now, why not Sonic 4? Because Sonic 4 technically does the same thing, some might say. No, because Sonic 4, again, I like the game, but instead of introducing new mechanics, it sort of takes mechanics away, and that bugs me a little bit, you know, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, I digress. It's time for the first boss fight of the game. This is the Eggman Hammer, and this might look familiar to anyone who's played Sonic Pocket Adventure, because Sonic Pocket Adventure had a similar boss fight. But just keep booping it until he goes down. It's a very, very easy boss fight. You should not have any trouble beating it whatsoever. Oh no, my head! Yeah, if you beat a boss, for some reason the capsule comes from the sky. God knows what it's doing in the sky, but yeah, you can get your character crushed by it. It won't lose any rings, but it's a neat little thing you can do, like a visual gag, which I appreciate. Time to enter the secret base zone as Knuckles. And Knuckles, also sporting his usual gliding ability, he also has the ability now to do a punch. So, you know, if he sees an enemy in front of him, he can directly punch them and inflict damage onto whatever mook lies around, you know, ladies and gentlemen. And I don't know if the characters have any different speeds in Sonic Advance 1, because in the classic Sonic games, the characters had different speeds, you know, set to them, but they were only really slightly different in terms of what they could do in terms of speed and whatnot. But I haven't been able to really notice any difference with speed with any of these characters, with the exception of maybe Amy, who doesn't really move that much slower compared to everyone else. It's just I'll talk about Amy when we get to her, actually, because I got quite a bit to discuss when it comes to Amy in this game. Because Amy Rose is actually playable in this game, ladies and gentlemen, which is a bit different. It may catch a couple of old classic Sonic fans off guard. And it's actually, for some people, one of their favorite gameplay styles. In fact, I've seen Amy Rose's gameplay style from this game actually modded into the classic Sonic games, ROM hacks and whatnot, which, you know, so Amy has her fans. She has her fans in this gameplay, you know, in this gameplay formula, which I like. But, yeah. Anyway, one thing I have here that a lot of people do complain about this Sonic game in particular, however, is it's slow. I don't think it's slow. I think Sonic Advance is perfectly fine speed-wise, but it is slower than the classic games. Not by much, but it is slow enough for you to think that, oh, the control's a little bit sluggish. It takes a little bit to ramp up to full speed, I have noticed, ladies and gentlemen, you know? But yeah, I don't think this game's that slow at all, and then SEGA decided to try and rectify that issue with Sonic Advance 2, where they made everything too goddamn fast, but I'll talk about that game very shortly, because that's my next playthrough. Anyway, Amy Rose is a bit different from every other character in the game. She cannot do a basic jump attack. Instead, she has to push the B button when she's jumping, and if you're crouching and press the B button, you can actually utilize her high jump from the Adventure series of Sonic games, and then you can hit a hammer to attack enemies. And if you want to attack enemies while you're jumping, you have to press the attack button whilst in the air in order to spin the hammer, which it can catch people off guard, you know, ladies and gentlemen. Amy's a bit she's a bit of a tricky one to get used to, I'll be perfectly honest, but you know, it's a different gameplay style, and she's definitely the challenge run of the game. You do need to know what you're doing in order to really play as Amy, you know, ladies and gentlemen. And that's all you play slower, because it's very easy to get killed by enemies and whatnot as her. And she doesn't even have a spin dash ability. As you can easily tell, I've been doing these short hops. Whenever you activate the spin dash button, instead of doing the actual that's the best sound effect I got for a spin dash. Amy will basically just hop across the ground and slowly... Well, actually, it's more of a shortcut up to full speed, I guess. Which is a bit of a pain, you know, ladies and gentlemen, but, yeah. Anyway, we're moving on up by here quickly because we have access to another special stage spring. And one thing that's kind of unique about Amy that you might notice I've been doing is I've been hitting hammers. Yeah, I've been using my hammer attack on springs. If you do that, you actually go a little bit higher when you utilize a spring, which I think is a neat little bonus move that isn't even advertised. I don't think even the manual tells you can do that, so it's a neat little thing you can work out on your own, which I like. I like it, you know, ladies and gentlemen. But anyway, these special stages, in terms of how they control, because it's the second special stage, I'll also get into that at least. Basically, you move up, down, left, right to collect the rings, and you press the A button to boost forward, and then you press the B button to do a trick. Whenever you come across these energy gates, basically you have to do the trick button in order to perform a trick at the correct time, in order to get a buttload of rings. And whenever you see bombs in that, in that sort of middling formation, you have to try and boost through them by using your A button ability, which is extremely damn tricky and extremely painful to do because you will almost always get clipped by the damn bombs, but it's a pain in the ass, ladies and gentlemen. And while it looks like I'm not really having too much trouble with these special stages, be forewarned. This is after years and years and years of practice, ladies and gentlemen. I am not very good at the Sonic Advance special stages. It's in all 3 Sonic Advance games. Because depth perception is a bitch. Seriously, whenever I'm playing the Sonic Advance games, I just can't see where the rings are properly. I have very poor depth perception. Because the rings are all 2D images. You're a 2D image. Trying to work out, oh, I need to go left, I need to go right, I need to be in this position, I need to be in that position, is a little bit of a pain to work out your first time playing. So, trust me, after a while, you're able to get through this, but, it's kind of a nuisance, I'll be perfectly honest about that. But there we go, there's the second Chaos Emerald up for grabs. Alright. And of course, one thing I do kind of appreciate is the fact that every zone is an original zone now. It's not like in Sonic Pocket Adventure, where all the zones were basically remixed levels from the classics, from Sonic 2. Now, all the zones are their own unique thing, which kind of makes sense. Sonic Pocket Adventure was more of a remix. This is an actual sequel type game, so it makes sense. And the hours I must have spent playing this game back in the day. I mean, seriously, I used to spend way too long on my Game Boy Advance back in the day playing this game. In fact, I'm pretty sure there's images of me just when I was younger playing this on Christmas Day. Like, I had all these presents on Christmas Day, and you just see me in the corner of the room with the Game Boy Advance glued to my screen going, I like this! This is Sonic! This is how a Sonic game is! Anyway, Eggman's Spring-O-Matic bot by here. He's going to bounce a couple of times, and he's going to do a very big super bounce. When he does the big super bounce, you have to try and time it so you're not on the ground whenever he lands. Otherwise, you will get stun-locked and hurt, ladies and gentlemen. It's all easy, and all the boss fights are pretty easy in their own right, with maybe 1 or 2 exceptions later down the line. But, it could give people trouble their first time. Anyway, with that is it for this part, ladies and gentlemen, so thank you all for watching, hope you all enjoy, don't be sheepish people, and I'll catch you all next time.